There are three specific pitchers the Boston Red Sox should target this offseason in free agency, and Shohei Ohtani is not one of them. I'll let you know why on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. So if you want to start your day off with something that tries to be positive, even in the tough situations and after rough losses with the Boston Red Sox, this is the place for you. New episodes Monday through Friday. The Locked On Podcast Network is here for you every day. So continue to subscribe to the show. Thank you for making it your first listen of every day. And you can also make the SiriusXM app your last listen of every day. Just download the app in the App Store, search Red Sox, and you can get the home broadcast of every game straight to your feed. So you don't have to worry about missing games or missing pitches. I know I personally get bothered when I miss a game, and that's just the reality of life. We're not going to be able to catch every game live. So if you're ever in that situation where you might need to get creative with how you access the game because you're going to miss it live on TV, you can at least listen to it and feel like you're still part of the action. So download the SiriusXM app today and search Red Sox, and you can get the home broadcast of every game to your feed. The Red Sox are in the middle of an offseason that they haven't really done much with yet. Craig Breslow is now here, is the new chief baseball officer. He's made a few minor moves to create more depth opportunities at the minor league level, but he hasn't made any moves with the major league club yet. So rumors have been spreading. These are the players the Red Sox are interested in. Now everybody's wondering, when is a move actually going to be made? Hopefully it's soon. And two of those moves, at least, need to be for starting pitchers because the Red Sox pitching rotation in 2023 was not nearly up to par with what a contending team's starting rotation should look like. So they need to be prioritizing starting pitching this offseason. And there are three starting pitchers in particular that I'd like the Red Sox to target this offseason. And I ranked them in order of priority in terms of how they should be prioritized and why they should be prioritizing them in the order that they are. The first one is very obvious. Japanese pitching star Yoshinobu Yamamoto. This man has been talked about so much, one of the most talked about people in America right now. He's probably the highest caliber free agent pitcher that is available on the market right now. One of the reasons he's so desirable is he's only 25 years old. So he's pretty young. He can sign a longer term deal with a team and not necessarily have them have to worry as much about what's going to happen to his arm down the road. He's actually ranked as the number 2 pitcher among the top 25 free agents this offseason. There is no question that he'll go to a team and provide value. He was posted by the Oryx Buffaloes from the Japanese League. Last year, around this time, the Red Sox landed Masataka Yoshida, who was also posted by the Buffaloes. So Yamamoto would already have a friend in Yoshida if he came to Boston, which could help him with that process of getting acclimated to Boston and playing there and create some sense of comfortability for him. When you're an international player and you're coming to play in the US for the first time, it can be a little nerve-wracking, but having that sense of familiarity can help with that transition period. And for Yamamoto, he did come out and say at one point that he would prefer to play baseball with other Japanese players. So the fact that Yoshida is already in Boston, that could give the Red Sox a major leg up when it comes to signing him. And it automatically could assimilate him quicker and make him feel more comfortable quicker in hopes that he could provide value earlier on in his time with the Boston Red Sox. So that reason alone should be a good enough reason for the Red Sox to be heavily pursuing him with how desirable of a free agent he really is right now, being the number 2 available pitcher, according to MLB's Mark Feinsand, who's constantly ranking pitchers who are available. He obviously has other factors to consider when he decides what he wants to do and where he wants to play. He needs to be comfortable with where he's going. But another thing that Boston needs to consider is that this could be a generational talent for them. This is a pitcher who is drawing the most interest really of any free agent we might have seen ever. And that goes to show that his stuff is legitimate. He's been watched by multiple teams. He's won basically the equivalent to what the Japanese League Cy Young Award is, which is called the Sawamura Award. He's won that the past 3 years. And there's no question as to why teams are interested in him. He's going to be expensive. It's probably going to be upward of a $200 million deal, but he has a mid to 90s fastball that he also goes with a splitter, cutter, curveball, and slider. So he has a tremendous repertoire of a variety of different pitches that he could bring and provide if he were to come to Boston. And the Red Sox need pitchers who have a variety of different pitches on their resume. For example, Tanner Houck struggles with this. He has 2 solid pitches, hasn't quite really gotten to the point yet where he has a third that he uses very consistently to the point where he can be reliable with it. And then as a result of that, when he starts to see a lineup the third time, he struggles. He's very solid and exceptional a lot of times the first 2 times through the order. But then when it hits the third time, because he doesn't have that third pitch, it's very easy for opposing lineups to figure him out. So having a pitcher like Yamamoto in there could automatically make him that ace of the pitching staff that the Red Sox have so deeply coveted the last few seasons. Because if you look at the Red Sox and how they've been the last few years, they've had some solid 3 or 4 caliber starting rotation arms in there, but they haven't had that true number 1 guy in a while. And this could absolutely be that breakthrough moment for Boston. They need to make a splash this free agency. They don't have a choice not to. And that splash needs to come on the pitching side of things. And the fact that they might already have a leg up for Yamamoto because of his friend Yoshida playing in Boston, it only makes sense that this should be the number 1 pitching target that the Boston Red Sox are going after right now in this free agency period, because that could really turn what was a mediocre pitching rotation in 2023 to a well above average, probably contending pitching staff in 2024. So I beg Craig Breslow and the Red Sox to go after Yamamoto. I have no doubts that they're at least in conversation with him, because Breslow's a pitching guy. He understands the needs in terms of pitching and the fact that the Red Sox were lacking in that area. So I'm sure they're in conversations with him, but this seems like one of the most important off seasons for the Red Sox in quite a long time. So they have to hit on these moves. And this is a move that I have no doubt they'd be able to hit on. Who's another pitcher that the Red Sox should target to join their pitching rotation in 2024? I'll let you know next. How big into sports betting are you? Are you huge into it? Are you at the point where you're just starting? You haven't had any experience, but you're thinking about starting? Regardless of where your experience lies, FanDuel is the way to go for you to make your sports bets. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers to stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. $150 in bonus bets is no joke, and all it takes is winning a $5 moneyline bet. Sounds simple, right? I promise you it is pretty simple because FanDuel makes it simple for you and makes it so that you don't have to stress about not knowing what you're betting on or worrying that you're narrowing your options too much, so you might miss a great opportunity when it comes to a bet. So check out FanDuel, download the app today because you won't be disappointed and you'll have a great opportunity to win lots of money. Also, while you're downloading the FanDuel app on your phone, you should also download the SiriusXM app because that will get you the home broadcast of every Red Sox game straight to your phone so that you don't have to worry about missing any of the action. I know for me personally, I always need to feel like I'm involved in every game in some way. That's probably why I'm hosting a daily Boston Red Sox podcast, right? Because I'm obsessed with this team and I can't miss a game. So for me, the SiriusXM app is great because I can go in there and utilize that app to get the home broadcast of all the games so I don't have to miss anything. So if you're anything like me, it's such a simple process. Download the app on the App Store and search Red Sox, and they will have you covered with every game broadcast. A potential pitcher that's been talked about that supposedly the Boston Red Sox are interested in and could join the pitching rotation for the 2024 season is Jordan Montgomery. I'm putting him down as my number 2 pitcher after Yamamoto that the Boston Red Sox should be targeting during this free agency period. He was a big reason why the Texas Rangers won the World Series in 2023. And when you think about the Red Sox rotation, was there a single pitcher on that staff that you truly trusted in crunch time in a playoff game to help you win and advance you in a do or die game in the postseason? If your answer was no, why would Jordan Montgomery not make sense to slot into that spot? You can argue that Brian Bayo maybe was the guy, but you're only saying that because he was the best option the Red Sox had in 2023. It's not necessarily because he is a playoff caliber arm yet. He definitely could be, and he has the chance to potentially be an ace further down the line in his career. But right now, he's really a solid 3 that could get up to a number 2 by the end of 2024. But he still needs time to make that happen. And James Paxton was one of the Red Sox better pitchers early on in the season, but then he kind of fell off after the All-Star break and ended up getting to the point where he wasn't nearly as reliable as he was early on. Cutter Crawford showed some improvement as the season progressed, but he wasn't necessarily at the point yet where he could be trusted in crunch time in a playoff game, especially because he was only averaging about 5 innings per start. Then there was Tanner Houck and Garrett Whitlock, both of which have great stuff, but might be better utilized out of the bullpen. because when they were starting, they just weren't as strong. And Houck, again, had a longevity problem. Couldn't really see a lineup the third time through. So you can't have that in the postseason when you're playing the best of the best. So then you look at the pitching rotation and you have like Chris Sale in there who couldn't really stay healthy all season. So he could have been a really hit or miss option in the postseason during 2023 had the Red Sox qualified. So that collection of starters isn't really posing for a great option of pitchers down the road for 2024 and beyond. So wouldn't you want a starter to be your number 2 guy in that rotation who is a proven veteran who buckled down when it mattered most in the playoffs and was able to get the job done? Jordan Montgomery has had a proven track record of success no matter where he's played. And he wouldn't have to be the number 1. And he's honestly best when he's not having to be the number 1 because he doesn't really have that experience or talent level of being an ace per se. But if the Red Sox do sign Yamamoto to be the number 1 guy, Jordan Montgomery can easily slot in as the number 2. He finished the season in 2023 with an ERA of 3.20. His record was 10-11, but try not to read too much into that because record is skewed for a pitcher because you could have a really good outing and maybe give up 1 run, but then your offense doesn't score any runs. So I try not to read too much into that. He pitched 32 games and had a lot of really good experience. He's a lefty that could be very solid out of that Red Sox rotation. When it comes to the way that he goes about his pitching, he's able to manage to fool a lot of hitters. In 2023, he averaged 7.92 strikeouts per 9 innings, and that's good. Would I like that number to be a little bit higher? Yes, but if he's the number 2, he doesn't necessarily need to strike out a lot more than that per game because your ace is likely going to be the one that's more often than not hitting double digits when it comes to strikeouts per game. Like Chris Sale, when he was prime Chris Sale, was striking out 11 to 12 batters a game on his good nights. And his good nights were very often. And being able to strike out hitters is something that Brian Bayo needs to work on still. His strikeout rate per game isn't necessarily at the level that it should be at right now, which is one of the reasons why he's not quite an ace caliber pitcher at this moment in time. But Jordan Montgomery, if he's going to eat up innings and strike out about 7 or 8 batters per start, that's good over a 6 or 7 inning outing. One of the other things that I like about him too is what I just mentioned, his ability to eat up innings. The Red Sox had a serious problem with starters not being able to go deep enough in games in 2023, and it caused the bullpen to be significantly overworked to the point where they were getting exhausted by the end of the season and were significantly less reliable than they were early on because they were throwing more often than they should have been. So I don't want that to be the same in 2024. I want the Red Sox bullpen to feel like they're well rested and they're not having to come into game situations and stretch out more than they're capable of because they're bullpen guys. They're not meant to pitch 4 or 5 innings. They're meant to pitch 1 to 2 in relief and maybe get the Red Sox out of a jam or maintain a close 1-0 lead or something of the sort, just a close 1-run game or 2-run game, and be able to conserve that lead. Or if the Red Sox are trailing, limit the damage so that the Red Sox have a chance to come back in the game. So you would want starters who can eat up innings and give you competitive outings the majority of the time. Jordan Montgomery kind of flew under the radar a little bit before coming to the Rangers, and because of how successful he was in that postseason run, his value certainly has gone up compared to what it was before that World Series run that he had in Texas. But the Red Sox have the money to spend. They went under the cap in 2023 for a reason, because they wanted the money to spend this offseason. So utilize that. Take advantage of that. Sign Jordan Montgomery. He's absolutely the type of pitcher who can excel in Boston. There's one more pitcher that I'd like to see the Red Sox target in free agency, a little bit less than the other two, but still could be a good fit here. So I'm going to be going over that next. There's a very exciting announcement going on with the Locked On Podcast Network right now. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Do you want to know why this is a huge deal? Because nobody else does it. Locked On is the first network to have a YouTube stream that's live, constantly talking about the biggest sports stories of the day and keeping you updated. If you have a long day of work, and I know people who can't be on their phone all day when they're at work, you can keep up with what's going on when you get home. If you subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, you can catch up with the biggest sports stories of the day, no matter what that story is. And when the Red Sox do hopefully sign pitchers like Yamamoto and Montgomery, my story will be on there too, talking about it, letting you know, giving you the insight as to what you can expect from that pitcher when they do sign with the Boston Red Sox. Here's wishful thinking, but hoping it actually happens. So you can get caught up in everything going on in sports that day. So subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. And don't forget as well that the SiriusXM app can have you covered for the home broadcast of every Red Sox game. So you don't have to worry about missing a single pitch. Why would you want to miss a pitch? I mean, honestly, this team is going to be better in 2024. I've said that over and over again on this show because I feel confident that it will happen. So you might as well just subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Leave a review, because I am here Monday through Friday, dropping a new episode, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll have you covered to start your day off right. And SiriusXM will also have you covered to end your day the right way, as long as it's with a Red Sox win. So download the SiriusXM app today. Another intriguing starting pitcher that I'd love to see the Boston Red Sox go after this offseason is Blake Snell. Now, one worry I have with Snell is his injury history. He hasn't really shown a lot of proven consistency in terms of how healthy he can actually be to contribute to a starting rotation. But when he's healthy, he's absolutely lethal. In 2023, over 32 games pitched, he had a 225 earned run average and a 14-9 record. And keep in mind, the Padres were a team that significantly underperformed in 2023. They spent a ton of money during the offseason to acquire the pieces that they felt they needed to put together a championship caliber team. And then they ended up missing the playoffs altogether. They spent a bunch of money on Xander Bogaerts. They still have Juan Soto on the books, although they are looking to trade him this offseason. And I guess there's teams in conversation with them about him. That Manny Machado contract is pretty hefty. So they have some people that they're going to need to try to relieve and kind of start over, because obviously what they were doing wasn't working. But Blake Snell was able to help hold that team together in what was a year of uncertainty for them. He was a highlight of that squad. And when he was in Tampa Bay, he was a highlight of that squad as well. Everybody remembers what happened during that 2020 World Series when Kevin Cash overanalyzed and used analytics to decide he should pull Blake Snell in that game, even though he had absolutely mowed over the Dodgers lineup and it was about to see the top of the Dodgers order for the third time that day. That he had just absolutely dominated all night. And there was blatant happiness on every member of the Dodgers' face in that dugout when they saw Kevin Cash go out there and pull Blake Snell. And then ultimately it led to the Dodgers winning the World Series. So to perform the way that he did, have his confidence level through the roof, just to have it shattered by Kevin Cash, because Snell was blatantly angry when he got pulled from that game. And to feel like your manager didn't trust you to go through the lineup again, even though you had absolutely just run over that entire lineup all night, has to be discouraging for any pitcher. And sure enough, he wanted out of Tampa Bay after that. Can't say I blame him, because who wouldn't after what was pulled by Cash? So he wanted out of Tampa Bay and then ended up going to the Padres. And he saw some time during his tenure in San Diego where he was injured, but when he was pitching, he really showed out and became that pitcher again that he was in Tampa Bay. And he definitely was not underappreciated with the Padres, because he was one of the few lights on a team that really had a lot of dark moments and was struggling in 2023. He had a K percentage of 31.5% compared to just a 13.3% walk rate. So what I will say is he does need to cut down on the walks a little bit. That's something that tends to hurt him. He brings traffic to the bases because sometimes he'll have a control issue and he'll walk guys. So if he can cut down on that, that's the biggest key for him. But he will get you those strikeouts, and he will pitch a lot of scoreless games. That's why he had that minuscule ERA of 2.25 in 2023. He has a lot of things that he does well. He has a lot of different pitches in his repertoire. He throws his fastball only 34.1% of the time. That was what his percentage was in 2023. And a lot of pitchers go to it a little bit more than that. So the fact that he only relies on it that much of the time means he has other pitches that he's also confident enough in that he can throw more regularly. And that is a quality of a good starting pitcher, somebody who can have a lot of pitches on their repertoire that they can throw to opposing hitters to constantly fool them and keep them on their toes. If the Red Sox were to be interested in signing Blake Snell, it might mean no Jordan Montgomery, because, again, these guys are not cheap, and the Red Sox do need to spend money on pitching, but most likely it'll end up being 2 arms and not 3 to go into that rotation. If I had to pick one or the other, I would pick Montgomery. That's why I put him over Snell in these rankings. But if it doesn't work out with Montgomery, or they decide to go to a different direction, Blake Snell is the guy that I'm putting into that slot next as the next guy to pursue. I see Yamamoto as basically a must do. That is a mandatory signing for me. He is a game changer for the Boston Red Sox. Then you really need to pick up that solid number 2 starter to put in after him in the rotation. And I'm putting that number 2 as either Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell, depending on what the Red Sox see as a more viable option for them. So whatever they do, fix the pitching staff. I beg you. That rotation has the potential to be very good in 2024 if the Red Sox pull the right plugs and make the right moves. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube to see the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. So many different Locked On hosts will be on there. So many different sports topics of the day will be talked about, and you won't have to worry about being out of the loop on anything. It's a very exciting time for Locked On. So subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and catch all of the biggest sports stories of the day. Like I always like to say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.